Citizen Kane, directed by Orson Welles, is considered one of the greatest films ever made. What is so great about Citizen Kane? Let me show you in this video. I grade a film on 4 criteria. These are technical artistry, storytelling artistry, entertainment, and art. A film must ace all 4 to be great. If you want to know what makes a great film, I'll link to it below. The first film to revolutionize filmmaking was The Birth of a Nation. The second time it happened was with Citizen Kane. Citizen Kane turned filmmaking on its head and changed the perception of what could be achieved technically on so many different levels. The majority of the credit goes to the legendary Gregg Toland, whose cinematography I have explored in detail in a separate video available to members of Wolfcrow Lifetime Access, which I'll link to below. In my video on Seven Samurai, I said every frame of it is a painting. In Citizen Kane, every frame was groundbreaking in its day. It wasn't just 1 or 2 things, it was everything. I'll try to explain. Orson Welles is the undisputed master of the long take. He said the ability to do that separates the men from the boys. Not very gender neutral back in the 40s, but you get the idea. The most famous scene involves Kane's early life, where his mother decides to send him away for his own good. They went so far as to move tables to make the shot work, all in one take. Citizen Kane is one of the 2 films that revolutionized deep focus cinematography. You can see the boy playing outside even as we're in a mid-close-up of the group talking inside. Try doing that yourself and you'll see how hard it is to do. Orson Welles and Gregg Toland used wide-angle lenses to devastating effect. You could see a character's face in the foreground and everything that happens in the background. In this shot in the bar, the composition is meticulously layered. The reporter is in the phone booth, the waiter is in his place, and the actress is in hers. It's like a David Hockney painting in black and white, except David Hockney was still a toddler when Citizen Kane came out. This lighting technique of extreme chiaroscuro is directly attributable to another painter who went by the name of Caravaggio. When the focus depth was too much for a camera to do in one go, they employed split diopter lenses and merged them together. There was no Photoshop or computers, it had to be done in camera on film stock with no monitors on set. Even 40 years later, Spielberg couldn't execute the split diopter perfectly. It's a hard thing to pull off. Citizen Kane is littered with them. When the mise-en-scene got too large, they used matte paintings to extend the sets. They used bare lights in a dark background to simulate a crowd. They used a rudimentary keying technique to get a parakeet in front of a background plate. They employed multiple reflections and reflections on broken glass. They did a photo merge, and on it goes. The lighting was revolutionary, with sharp shadows and silhouettes. Toland wasn't afraid to use shafts of light and underexpose the foreground. Sometimes the lighting is like a dance. One light goes in and another appears. One light goes out and another appears. There are even complex lighting changes during dissolves. When he needed softness, he brought out the nets and filters. The entirety of Citizen Kane is like a textbook of cinematography. Orson Welles was a young kid who miraculously got a studio to give him unlimited power to make whatever he wanted. His hubris knew no bounds, except in the presence of Gregg Toland. Welles knew Citizen Kane wouldn't be Citizen Kane without Toland, which is why the director graciously shared the title card with this cinematographer. How often do you see that? Before we move on, I should also mention the art direction, which is yet another masterclass. Citizen Kane used deep focus photography not just to show us the background, but to also create optical illusions that take your breath away. Like Kane walking in the foreground then moving back, and suddenly we realize the windows are larger than they appear. This is repeated in a later scene where Kane walks to his fireplace, except it's more like a bonfire place. When Kane insisted on taking his camera to ground level, they made a raised set with a hole for the camera. Hardly anyone showed ceilings in those days, but Welles wanted to, so they used muslin to get some fill light in and to record sound at the same time. And lastly, let's talk about the phenomenal makeup job that turned a 24-year-old Welles to an old man and every age in between. And not just Kane, but the secondary characters as well. The sheer audacity of the technical achievements in Citizen Kane is mind-boggling. Orson Welles played Charles Foster Kane, and it is one of the great acting performances. The secondary cast of characters are all exemplary and complete the world Welles wanted to create. It was a world of speed, loose morals, and where right or wrong wasn't well defined. One of the criticisms of Citizen Kane is that Kane isn't a sympathetic character, except at the very end. And that's where Citizen Kane shows its storytelling prowess. It's a mystery story. Kane's last word, Rosebud, is a mystery. Why did he utter it? That's what a reporter wants to uncover. His quest to understand that forces him to understand Kane. The hook of the mystery keeps us on our toes, and even though we don't like him, we want to know the answer. Another significant storytelling risk was the long opening sequence of newsreel footage, where the entire story of Kane is first laid out. They had to make footage look as bad as newsreel footage, and some of the shots involving Kane are also handheld, like a classic paparazzi camera. The editing in Citizen Kane was all mapped out in Orson Welles' head. The complex transitions and editing couldn't have been achieved through random coverage. The most important scene was the disintegration of the marriage from day one to day kaput. The sheer timing of the acting, the dialogues, and the camera work clearly display an extreme precision that is so hard to achieve. Citizen Kane ultimately is a character study of a man that is very close to what Orson Welles is in real life. He destroyed his career with this one film, and forever afterwards had trouble raising money for his projects. Citizen Kane at the time was a box office failure. It's such an intellectual film that flies at a rapid pace, but I never find it boring. I can watch it again and again, which is how I score a film on entertainment. But that's not all. Citizen Kane has done extremely well in other markets and continues to do so on DVD and Blu-ray. It was also selected by the Library of Congress for being culturally, historically, and aesthetically significant. It's not surprising you'll find it in the top 5 of most greatest film lists. If Citizen Kane isn't cinema as art, I don't know what is. Even today, the film stands on its own, freed from its controversial and historical baggage. It showed extant and future filmmakers how films could be, and it revolutionized film craft forever. Its value over time has only risen, and no film since has delivered so many novelties in one film. Most films will be happy to just have one novelty, which is hard enough. Together with Greg Toland, all Orson Welles did was school everyone else. Which is why Citizen Kane is one of the greatest films ever made, and is second on my list of 100 films to see before you die. I'll link to it below. If you enjoyed this video, please hit like and don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell on the right. I'll see you in the next one. Bye now.